Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for another Monday This and That video where I can get you caught up on more current things going on, since the rest of my videos that you'll see publishing throughout the week are at least a month old from the time they were shot into the time that they actually published. So this is one of the reasons I really like these Monday videos. Plus, I can cover all kinds of different things, answer a bunch of new questions that have come in, and so much more. So let's get to the topics of today, starting with the cheap off-grid lighting. Now, know that I have several videos out on our various different types of off-grid lighting, and I'll link to my most recent one down below where I talked about my favorites. And one of those, it's one of my newer favorites, are these little votive lights. Now you can see this one right here is pretty dim, and the reason for that is because I've been sort of testing out just how long the battery life is in something like this. This one I've had on for about 2 days straight, but I've also used it all night long during several different power outages. So it's been through quite a bit. And here is a brand new one. So you can see the difference in brightness. And I'll also take a picture in a darker room side by side. You can see the difference. What I will say about the brightness of this is perfect as is for a nightlight. So it's one that I leave on in the bathroom whenever we have a power outage, because we always have a nightlight plugged in, a little LED one. But during a power outage, I just turn one of those on. When I bought the first pack of them a year ago or so, I have all these different little votive holders I've collected over the years, and I thought it would be nice to have something that wasn't wax, and I found out that you could get these little LED ones. Not only are they safer, you know, it's something you can just turn on when you need it. You don't have to worry about the wax running out all over the place and then having to clean it out, and it's just easy to use. So when I got to looking into them, I assumed they'd be more expensive than buying a pack of wax votives, because these are something that can last for a long time because they're plastic, and you know, once the battery wears out, you can just replace the battery. Well, what I found is it was actually a lot less expensive, unless you're finding wax votives like I've done many times at garage sales for a big box for a couple of dollars. If you're buying brand new, it's a lot cheaper to buy these little battery operated LED votives. The last pack I bought, I only paid $10 for them. The first ones I bought were $15. So they've actually gone down in price for a pack of 24. It could be that they're just on sale right now. And I'll put the link to these down below. But one of the things I really like about them is I like the color. It's more natural looking, and I don't know if you'll be able to tell in this light, but it does have just a real light flicker to it, so it looks more like a real candle. And I can put them anywhere. A standard wax votive only gets 12 hours, where you're definitely getting more than 12 hours. You're getting at the minimum 4 times that much, at the very minimum. Like I said, I've already had this running for almost 2 days, but have used it during several different power outages all through the night. So I'd say for continual use, you'd probably get a week out of them rather than just 12 hours out of as you would like a wax votive. So all the way around, you're saving money going with this. And if you're looking for something that's more safe because you got grandbabies or small children around, then that's a good option to have. Now, I brought this out because I said cheap off-grid lighting. Well, I have a lot of these, and you'll see them in the video, at least some of them. I have quite a few of these mini oil lanterns. Every single one of them I've picked up secondhand. All of them. This right here is one of my very favorites. I just love this one. Patrick actually made this little stand for it. I got it at the thrift store, and I think I paid $1 for it. But it was on this ugly box that was fake wood with wood looking paper over it. So I liked the lantern a lot though, but it has a peg at the bottom, so it needed to fit into something. So what Patrick did is he took that box off and then fabricated this little maple thing here so he could set it down into that. And it's actually, I think it's glued in place. So that is one of my favorite lanterns I use when the power goes out. But we have all kinds. We have gas, we have oil, we have the LED, we have candles. We use We actually use all of them. So please go check out the video I'll be linking to down below. The other form of off-grid lighting is, since we do have solar power, and we also have gas generators for in the middle of winter when we're not getting enough solar power, all of my LED lights, all string lights, all through my house, I have them all through the house. We just plug those into one or the other, depending on what time of the year it is. And we can light our house with those as well. And what we use for fuel in the oil lanterns is the clean heat. We find it doesn't have as strong as a smell and does not bother us the way the kerosene does. Kerosene tends to give me a headache when I'm burning kerosene in my lanterns, but the clean heat doesn't bother me at all. Okay, now I want to talk about this book before I forget it again. If you were watching last week's This and That, I had this sitting in the background because I was going to mention it and I forgot it, so I did a short and threw that out there real quick, but I didn't say exactly where it came from. So it was a gift from one of my followers, and she had it sent to me. And for those of you who were really interested in this book, she said she got it at a Dollar Tree. If you're looking for this book, check out your local Dollar Tree to see if it's in there. Anyway, in her letter, she said that, she goes, I know you don't use recipes that much, but she just thought the book was really neat looking because of the cover, which is pretty cool. That's what the backside looks like. I didn't show it in that little short. But she also really liked the photos in there. But anyway, it's all recipes of basically foraged food and wild caught meat. So that's what made it pretty cool. Again, if you're interested in seeing if you can find one like that, check your local Dollar Tree. Maybe even ask if you can't find it in the Dollar Tree. I've heard some people say that you can go in the Dollar Tree if you know what's carried, those products are carried in other Dollar Trees. You can ask them and they can order stuff up specifically for you. That's what I've heard anyway. I've never tried it, so I wouldn't know. Okay, so a few more questions that came in. I had somebody bring up the quinine thing again. You know, a few years ago, there was this rumor going around that you can get quinine from grapefruit peels by cooking them down. And it was a completely understandable mistake. And I did explain this in a couple of videos. You can get quercetin though by doing that same thing. So I believe that's one of the mistakes people were making, is that it's quercetin that you're getting from the grapefruit and other citrus peels when you cook them down. And so I did 2 separate videos on this, and I'll link to both of them down below. But quinine comes from cinchona bark. And while they're 2 different types of compounds, I think the other mistake the reason there's confusion on that is that they both work the same way within the body when it comes to zinc. So they're zinc ionophores. They carry the zinc into the cells. So they, as far as that goes, they serve the same purpose. And I think that's where the confusion came from. So if you're making your grapefruit mixture, decoction, it's still going to have the same effect at helping with certain viruses as quinine would. Quercetin, quinine works the same way as far as that. Okay, another question was, somebody asked me because of my brown sugar recipe there was a couple of questions, and one was, well, can't you just add the molasses and the sugar directly into like your cookies, your breads, whatever it is you're using bread sugar in? Yes, absolutely. You do not have to mix it separately. But you will have noticed that the very next day after that video, I came out with my bread recipe. It's just my basic yeast bread recipe I use for making loaf bread, rolls, cinnamon rolls, and more. Well, for the cinnamon rolls, you do obviously, because the brown sugar cinnamon is going inside the roll itself. That's one situation right there where you're going to want to mix your cinnamon, your molasses, and your sugar together separately. So this is one of the reasons why I was showing people how to mix it. If you're one that likes to have brown sugar in your oatmeal, having it all pre-mixed and ready to go makes it so much easier. So that's why I usually have at least a small jar of pre-mixed brown sugar. But when it comes to baking, usually I just put it all in there together, making the cookies and so on. Then the other question is, do you need to refrigerate your molasses? Absolutely not. Years ago, I'm thinking it's been at least 10 years ago, I bought a 60-pound bucket of molasses from Glory Bee. And Glory Bee and Azure Standard are very similar. In fact, they both are located in the same area of Oregon. That 60-pound bucket is taking me forever to work through. I'm probably only maybe a quarter or a third of the way through it. So it's going to last me for the rest of my life. No issues. I don't keep it refrigerated. I just keep it in my back pantry. And I have never had issues with it. It's a sugar. Sugars do not spoil. It's the same thing with honey. Raw honey is not going to spoil on you. It will crystallize, but it won't spoil. Even maple syrup doesn't have to be refrigerated. Though once I open a bottle or a jar, I do keep it in the fridge. But if you vacuum seal it in jars, you can keep your maple syrup forever. I've had maple syrup I vacuum sealed a couple of years back, and there's no mold growing on it. You know, it is a sugar, so it's going to basically preserve itself. But maple syrup, because it does have water in it, it's more likely to develop mold on top. But vacuum sealing it into jars will prevent that. So no, you don't need to refrigerate those items. And then another question that came in on the Fermented February video that came out. So this is my second year being part of the Fermented February collaboration, which is still going on. So don't forget to go subscribe to Anna's channel, Fermented Homestead. I'll link to her channel in the description box down below. And there's a video coming out every day of the month of February by a bunch of different channels. And so go subscribe to her channel, and she'll have the whole playlist, or at least go back and watch my video, because I have the whole all the channels linked under there, including Anna's channel. And then you can see my video that I did about fermenting dehydrated goods to make kimchi. Now, I got a lot of great feedback on that. A lot of people were just like, wow, I never thought to do that. Well, I hadn't really thought of it before until last year. I thought, I'm just going to try this for the heck of it, just to see if it will work. And so I did, and I actually liked it. The texture is a little different than making kimchi or sauerkraut, for that matter, out of fresh goods, but I actually really like it. But one of the questions I got on that was, somebody said, well, why would you go through all that work of dehydrating it just to turn around and ferment it? Well, I thought I explained it in that video, but I don't know. I haven't watched it since I uploaded it a month ago or so. So I might be thinking of a different video, but here's the reason why. Is when I was in my 30s, my early 30s, I learned how to make kimchi on my own. I just kind of compared different recipes and then came up with my own. And I was making it the more classic way, without the fermentation starter, using all fresh vegetables. I would eat it all the time. I would eat it breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, I would actually have like other food too, but usually I'd have it as a side. Sometimes I ate it as my meal. I love kimchi. I still love kimchi, but for some reason I just don't like to eat it as much as I used to. So it's not something I even like every single day. So why would I ferment food that I did all the work to dehydrate up? Well, here's the thing. I could ferment all this food to preserve it and have it ready to go. That's one way people preserve foods. But since it's just me and Patrick now, and the only other person in my house that really liked kimchi was my oldest son, and he's been out on his own for a long time. So keeping jars and jars of kimchi on hand would just take up a bunch of room. We're having it in a dehydrated form, like here I have red and green cabbage. This is 2 whole heads of cabbage right here in this one jar. You couldn't say the same thing about kimchi. If I was using all fresh goods, I'd have several jars taking up space. But this way, if I'm in the mood for kimchi, I could just take my dried ingredients that I already have put up, that I also have put up for more than just making kimchi with, but using in many other ways. And then I can just whip up a batch of kimchi. Of course, I have to wait at least 3 days to a week for it to be ready, but I can make as little or as much as I want at a time. And then only have 1 jar in the fridge that I'm working through. And yes, I do make kimchi out of fresh goods. So if the next time I get a batch of cabbage in from Misfits Market, I'm planning on making some kimchi out of the fresh goods, and whatever's left over out of that, I will dehydrate. So I can use it later for a different ferment, or for using in stir fries, casseroles, and soups, or whatever I want to. So that is why I do it that way. So as you're speaking of the dried goods, I've got the red and green cabbage. and I just had a short come out on this. It's just a quick one. And this one, I dehydrated up a bunch of red onions I got from Misfits Market. I still have a few green onions left from this last year that I had dehydrated up, plus the white organic dried onions I get from Mother Earth Products. And so I mixed the three together, and I love the way it looks in the jar. And then here is my last, this is that 3 pounds of ginger I got from Azure Standard and dehydrated up next to my wood stove. So, and that's the other thing, by the way, a lot of times we're starting to get to where we're getting more solar power. And so I can run my dehydrators off solar power, which is typically all summer long, they get run off solar power, not public power. So I'm not using any more paying anymore for electricity when I do that. Or in the wintertime, like with the ginger, this one dries really good right next to my wood stove. So all this was dried right next to my wood stove. It cost me no more money on electricity. So yeah, that's 3 pounds of ginger dehydrated up in this. And yes, I do leave the skins on because there's no point in taking them off. And if I'm going to make like a starter out of this, a fermentation starter, I've got the skins on there. Everything's there that I need there to make my starter. And then this is just some herbs for my chicken that I dehydrate up during the summer. And then I sprinkle this into their food. But I've got this out because I'm going to be shooting a video today on a chicken medicine. It's just a good for almost everything type medicine. And that's what's in this smaller jar right here. And I'm going to be making a bigger batch and doing a video on that. And I have found it to be really great for my chickens. It seems like whatever they have, if they ever get anything, I just start giving them that. I just use a little pipette. I have a big pack of them and then just administer it to them. And I give that to them for a couple of days and they're great. They're fine. They're back to doing whatever. So anyway, I'll shoot that video later today so you can be watching for it. It'll be a month before it comes out. But anyway, it's homemade. This particular blend is homemade vinegar, ground walnut hulls, and garlic granules. And that works good, but I'm going to be adding some of the herbs here to that for the next batch, the bigger batch I'm going to make. Because it's got chicory and dandelion and nettle, which is all also very good for your chickens, especially if you're trying to help them get over whatever it is they have. Okay, and then one more thing I wanted to mention. So you guys all know that we've been working on this, doing this video series where my subscribers send me stories of some natural remedies, ways they healed themselves or a family member using herbs or some other type of natural means to heal, so they didn't have to go to the doctor and get on prescription medications or anything. And so I've been sharing those, and I'm still getting stories in, and I've got this series going. I think at the time I'm shooting this, I think I currently have 5 videos uploaded. At least one at the time you're seeing this hasn't published yet, but I think I have 4 that have published so far. And I'll be shooting another one real soon. But I had another similar idea where I've done a couple videos for this before, but I haven't thought to put it in a series. And so I'd like to start a series on people's testimonials of how they got into preparedness and got themselves into a better position, especially on very little money. Those are the best ones because there's so many people out there that say, well, I can't do it because I can't afford it. But a lot of people that are in even worse situations than the people that have said that have done it. And they have shared their testimony. So I do already have 2 videos out. One is just one person's story because hers was kind of long. And then the other one is several different stories I got from comments. However, while you can share them in comments to make it much easier for me, I'm only going to make them off of those sent to me via email, because that way it makes it so much easier. Instead of me trying to skim through all the many comments, then I have it all in one place. So you would send me the email to raincountryhomestead@gmail.com, share your story and title it Preparedness Testimony. And then I'll drop it in the appropriate folder, and then I'll start doing a series off of those. So usually it depends on how long each testimony is. I might read 3 to 5 per video, or even less if it's a really long story. And then same thing with the natural healing, if people still want to keep sending those in. So put natural healing testimony as the title of the email and send it to raincountryhomestead@gmail.com, and it will very likely be read in a future video down the road. And that's it for my this and that for the day. I hope you enjoyed this video. You got any thoughts, ideas you'd like to share, please put them in comments down below. Remember, those comments help us out. The comments, the likes, even the dislikes, and the shares, those all help us out. We don't get paid for them, but they help our channel get promoted by whatever platform this video is, you're watching this video on. So make sure you interact. That does something. Some people have just gone so far because they didn't have anything to say, so they just put comment. It's cool. I appreciate that. It works. So anyway, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.